Good evening. Welcome to the Tammy Talk Show. We are glad that you are tuning in with us on today. We're going to give everybody a chance to come in. All of the people that normally watch and want to watch what we're going to talk about today. We're going to deal with politics today. So just going to wait till the people come on. Yes. Well, how are you this evening?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I have my special guest here today. Her name is Arizona Williams. We're going to talk about the politics in our nation today. And we know that we're involved with the election year this year. So it's time for us to get on top of everything. If we want change, we got to make change.
That's
in order to make change, what we got to do?
We gotta vote.
We got to vote.
That's right.
So I'm going to wait till some more people come in. Wait till you chime in and listen to what we have to talk about today. We know that there's a lot going on in the nation and we want changes.
That's right. That's
In
right.
order to make change, you know, they said we got to sit down and talk about it. So we're going to sit here today and talk with you and share the knowledge that Miss Williams have. And she's going to share with you the knowledge on voting and why it's important to do it. Oh, it's white. I mean, Arizona
It's the
white.
same. It's all the same.
I'm so sorry. White.
It's all
Arizona
the same.
white. We're going to talk today concerning the issues that we're going through in the nation and how important, like I said, it is to vote.
That's right.
If you're not voting, there's not too much you can say about it.
That's right.
And we have for so long sat back and just watched things happen, but we got to get into the action.
That's right.
Get into, what's going on in the world, voice our opinion and, put our vote in and make our vote count. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. I hope that it will be something that's said and done to help the people and enrich their knowledge on voting and how important it is.
That's right.
When I turned 18, I was so glad to go out and vote. Nobody had to make me. I was waiting for that. Yeah, I could vote now. Yes, me too. I used to see my mom and dad go vote, getting ready to go vote, and I said, one day I'm going to get out there. I'm going to vote too.
That's right.
When I turned 18, I was out there voting, and I made sure my kids got knowledge on how to vote and when to vote. When they turn 18, I said, it's time for you to voice your opinion and go out and vote also. So we just want to encourage you on today to go vote.
That's right.
And we have some good information to help you to learn what you need to do and just get out there and we're going to make it happen. I have a question for you today, Miss White. I don't know why I said William. Let me mark
It's
it
all
out.
the same.
Miss White. Okay. What do you think is the most important political issue at the moment?
All right. Well, as you know, we've all been watching the news and we've seen the protesting and we've been looking at the videos and things of black men and black people in general who have been brutalized by police force. So for me, one of the most important things that we've got to look at is criminal justice reform.
Yes.
We've got to look at the way that policing is taking place. We've got to look at the way that the huge number of African Americans are being incarcerated in this country.
Right.
The United States leads in the world's numbers in incarceration.
Wow.
Our incarceration numbers, our jails have been filled over the last 40 years. The incarceration rate has increased over 500% in the last 40 years. 500%.
Wow.
And we have 2.2 million people in prison in the United States.
Oh.
So that's a major, major issue.
Yes.
And when you look at the number of African American men who are being incarcerated for things such as marijuana,
Yeah.
I mean, it's unheard of. It's unheard of. We've got to do something to reform our criminal justice system because we can already see that justice is not being served for African Americans.
No.
It's not established and is not set up for us to be successful and to come through the justice system and to win.
Right.
So we've got to do something about reforming the criminal justice system so that our African American young men and women will have an opportunity to live.
Right. To be given a fair chance.
That's right. That's right.
And do you think, let me ask you this question. What are some of your political views?
Well, criminal justice is definitely one of them. Criminal justice reform is major for me. Again, I have to just remind people, I'm the mother of 4 sons.
Oh,
Just imagine 4 sons in this political climate where African Americans are targets.
Yes.
And they can be stopped for a tag light being out, and it could end their lives.
Right.
So for me, it is so important that we look at our criminal justice system and say, what are we doing wrong? Because apparently something is not right. And then in addition to that, we have to also look at our how can we end police brutality?
Oh.
Because a black man should not, his heart rate and his blood pressure should not increase when he sees blue lights behind him. He should not feel like his life is going to end because he's being stopped by a police officer. So these are the things that I think are very important to the African American community. We've got to do something other than just sitting around and complaining. The protesting is great. I feel like our young people are fed up.
Yes.
Our protesting is great. It's bringing awareness to the issue. Is young people are telling our generation and generations before us that enough is enough.
Right.
My son, who's 21 years old, he's a senior at Vanderbilt University. He said to me, he said, Mama, your generation prayed and y'all sang. He said, our generation is not going to do that. He said, we're going to act. And he said, if it means that we've got to destroy things to make people aware that this is hurting us, then we'll do that. And of course, we don't condone destruction and things of that nature. But we have to also think about the young people in this generation. They were born in a war, and they've had constant war since they've been in this world. So our society has taught them that the way to handle situations is through violence. And then we want to blame them for the way that they're reacting. So we have to make sure that we are doing something. So the protesting is great, but then on the other end, there has to be some of us who are educating ourselves to learn how to come in and impact our legislators. We've got to use the power of the pen to write our legislators to let them know enough is enough. We are not accepting this anymore. It's time for things to change. We've got to change laws. We've got to change training of these police officers, and things have to change now.
But don't you know, as a nation or people in general, people don't like change.
People don't.
You know, they want to stick with the norm as to what has already been happening. It's been working for them, but it ain't been working for us.
Right. But you know what? Something I realize about life is that the only thing that causes change is pain.
Right.
And so with these young people going out, burning up buildings, and not just even young people, any people in general, that are burning up buildings, they're protesting, they're making their voices heard, change is only going to happen when there's pain.
That's right. And then too, you know, like I was saying, that people don't like change. So if this been working for my race, why should I want to make something work for your race? But we are fed up.
That's right.
And we want change because, like you said, you have 4 sons. I have 3 sons, and I don't want my son when, like you said, when the police stop him and then they getting so afraid and scared. I seen how they would look when I'm in the car with them and the police stop them. They're concerned about me. They're concerned about everybody in the car because when they stop you, you don't know what might happen.
That's right.
And that's sad. And I grew up in the generation that when we went off to school and our parents say, if somebody say something to you, you get afraid, this is the number to call the police, or this and that and that is. But do you tell your children now, or your young children now, your young grandchildren to say, call the police?
Unfortunately, you don't even know if that's safe these days.
Right, you don't know.
And it's sad because, again, we were taught that the police, they were the good people. They were the people that were going to serve and protect you. Is that the case these days? We're not so sure.
We're not so sure. You don't know who you might get that day.
Right.
They might have had a bad day at home and come and take it out on us. We don't know.
That's right.
But you got to be able to. That's why we are talking today about changing the norm, because it has been made to be the norm.
That's right.
So it's time for us to change it, and how we're going to change it, we got to do it politically. We can't do it by talking, and we can't just do about sitting down when they say, let's get together and let's talk. Those talks been going on for years.
Right.
When I was a little girl, I used to watch the TV and hear them talking about the same thing. We need to talk.
Right.
When is we going to stop talking and start putting forth some action?
That's right. That's
There's no need to talk. Well, help me to understand what you're going through. Baby, you'll never understand what we're going through. We can tell you, but you will never understand.
Right. Until you walk in our shoes.
That's right.
And I posted something today. It was a picture of a woman holding up a sign that said, "Stop police killings."
Yes.
The picture was taken 55 years ago.
Yes, I saw that.
55 years ago. And we're still saying the same thing today.
Yeah.
55 years. And not only that, but it's gotten even worse because in 2019, there were 1,004 people shot and killed by the police.
Wow.
We don't hear about that. We probably heard about 4 or 5 of those cases. But there were 1,004 people shot and killed by the police in 2019.
Wow.
And so to me, that's a sign that there's a cultural issue when the police feels like it's okay to kill people because I'm going to get off.
Right.
We've got to change that mentality, and we've got to change that culture.
Yes, yes. And how we're going to do it. We're going to vote.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, let me see. I have another question for you. How do you think we as citizens of our state can put forth change with our current events that's going on, and it could be things that are going on in our city? And I know we need to get out there and vote, but we need to look for the candidates that we know are going to work for us.
That's right.
And if you see a candidate that has been doing things in the community, making change, and they're running for an office, that's who we need to start voting for. You see the changes that they made in the area, or you see changes they made in the law enforcement. You see all those changes. So we need to know who they are.
That's right.
And how do we get to know who they are as to who to vote for? Because I can see a lot of commercials. Years ago, I would see a lot of commercials about different people, that was running for this and running for that. And I'm looking at like, well, who are you?
Right.
What did you do?
That's right.
But you don't know. So we need to learn how to educate ourselves, looking at the records of that person. And then we got to learn how to, even when people are running, we can't have 4 or 5 people running for the same job because that splits our votes.
That's right. And even in the business world, we say that past performance is an indication of future performance. So things that you've done in the past is going to let me know what you're going to do moving forward.
Right.
And so we have to make sure that when we're voting, it's not just a popularity contest, but are we looking at the person's history? Right. What have they done for the community? Right. You'll see these fly-by-night people who pop up. They've done nothing in the community, but they want you to vote them into office. Right. No, ma'am, no, sir. No. We got to see you doing some work. Results. I want to see what you've done for the community already. I want to see how you've helped your neighborhood. I want to see what you've done for the school board and what you've done for your own children's school. Right. Because I need to see the work that you've done in order to put my faith and my vote on your name. Right. Your name means something, and your activity, your past behavior means something. Right. And so we've got to make sure that we're looking at people and not just picking a name. And so one thing that even my son and I, we did together, we went to their websites. Everyone that's voting, that's running, that we need, they're asking for our vote. So let me see what is your platform. Okay. And you know what the thing is, I noticed that a lot of them don't have a platform because they're running off of popularity. If you don't know what you're going to do when you get in office, then how do you expect me to put my name on that ballot and vote for you? Right. No, I need to see what you stand for. I need to know what your plans are, because if you don't have a plan, that means you're going to have, excuse my language, piss poor performance. Right. So we need a plan. That's right. And so that's
you don't know where you're going. You don't know why do you want me to follow you, and you don't know the direction you're going in. Exactly. We all gonna get lost. Right. The blind leading the blind. Yeah. And so we've got to make sure that we are holding people accountable to demonstrate what they have done and what they're going to do. And to me, that is the best way to decide on who's worth my vote, because your vote is valuable. Yes, it is. And that's what people need to understand. Your vote is valuable, because if you think about it, in the city of Macon, that's majority African American. If African Americans do not show up to the polls, then your voice is not going to be heard. And then you got to think about it. You got to put people in office who have your best interests at heart. Yes, you do. And that's why I always tell people that, as a Christian, we need to make sure that we are raising up leaders,
people who are going to not just be leaders in the church, but people who can be leaders in the community.
Yes.
I need to see people, because that lets me know that their foundation is sure. That we've taught them the golden rule, because to me that is key. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If we have people in office that are serving with that type of mindset, then a lot of the things and the corrupt activity that we see in our cities, it will not happen. Because we know that we've given them a sure foundation, and we know that we've taught them to love, to have compassion, and to serve people with humility. And to me, that's where we as a church body have to make sure that we are educating people and putting them out there and pushing them to the forefront to lead.
And then they have some type of conviction when they're out there in the political world, where they have their religious background to hold them accountable as to staying truthful to what they're doing. And truthful to the people, because a lot of times when people get into politics, they start
getting corrupt,
and they'll start, putting out things that is not true. I had one of the questions on here: do you think generally that politicians are honest?
That's a really good question. I think that the majority of them are. But I do think that a few bad apples do spoil the bunch. Because I feel like most people, I mean, you think about it, you're giving up your life to serve. And I think most people who have that mindset, they really do have a heart for the people. But then you have those who get greedy. They see where they can benefit financially by doing corrupt things, and then then they don't have a mindset for the people. They become selfish. But I think that most people have a heart to serve, but we do have a few that do spoil the bunch.
Because they get in the political spectrum and then they start moving up the ladder. And as they move up the ladder, the money gets bigger, and then they forget about the people. They forget about the people that help them get there, and then they'll start serving their purpose. It becomes I, and not we the people. It become I the person.
That's right.
And we need to do it as we the people. You got to always put the people in, first, because you're here to serve the people, and you're getting paid from the taxpayers' dollars. So we got to not forget the people and our concerns, because when your city is so messed up and there's a whole lot of killing and a lot of gang violence and a lot of break-ins and all that kind of stuff, and businesses getting destroyed and all that, then who gonna that community? What are your strategy? Who are you gonna bring into that circle to help get that community together? You may have a pastor in that community that is very influential around that community. That politician should go to that pastor and say, I need you to help me get this community together, because I've heard that your name is very good in this community. And they need to reach out even to the church to get the help.
That's right. It has to be collaboration. I feel like in any community, if you're going to be successful, it has to be a collaboration. The education board, the city government, the religious groups, everybody, the nonprofits, the families, everybody has to work together in order to make a city successful. We can't just depend on the politicians to do it. We all have to work as a team and work collaboratively to make sure that we have a successful community.
So what can we do to get our people out to vote? I had something that was sent to me, and I was looking at the numbers of how many people didn't even vote in the election in 2016. It was a large number of people that didn't vote. It was from our race. Maybe they didn't like either of the candidates that was there for presidency, but I think you should vote for somebody.
That's right.
And vote for the one that had your heart and mind and your views, and had a track record of doing things for our community. So you need to we need to look into who is doing something to help us. So, and then put people in place so they can get the things done. And don't be a problem to them, be a help.
That's right. So for me, growing up, my father had a 6th grade education, but my father was the wisest man that I've ever met. My father would he never missed an election. I don't care if it was a special election, primary, general election, whatever, my father made sure that he went to the polls every single time.
Yeah.
And not only did he go, but he strategically waited till we got out of school to go vote.
Yes.
Because he would take us to the polls with him so that we would know how to vote. He would have us to punch in his ballot. He would have us to submit the card because he wanted us to know what it felt like to vote. He wanted to teach us how to do it himself.
Right.
And then not only that, but my dad would go to the city council meetings and he would raise sand, but he would sit us there next to him so that we could learn how to be active in the community and know how to allow our voices to be heard. And so for me, that is what was instilled in me. So the day I turned 18, I went and got my voter registration card, and I've been voting ever since. But I think we've got to instill it in our children at a very young age that this is what we do.
Right.
You know, just like we take them to church and we instill that in them, or other family traditions, we've got to instill that tradition that this is what our family does.
Yes.
We are people who are politically active, and we make sure our voices are heard.
Right.
Not only for our children, but we got to do it for our ancestors.
Yes.
When we think about the people who died, I saw a picture just recently of a man. They lynched him, and they wrote a sign on his chest that said, "This nigger voted."
Wow.
And they hung him because he voted.
Yes.
And then I look at Fannie Lou Hamer is one of my favorite women in history. But she fought for, this woman lived on a life, but she fought for the right to vote. She didn't even know that she had the right to vote. But once she learned about it, she went and she took people to the voting polls. She went all over the South making sure people understood that they had the right to vote.
Yes.
And so we owe it to our children, we owe it to our ancestors, and we owe it to our future. Our grandchildren, that we need to make sure that they understand that this is what we do. And as an African American people, our people have fought for this right. And this is a valuable thing that you have. And then you think about it, back in the day, they said in order to be a first class citizen, you had to vote.
Yeah.
And so when I think about it from that perspective, and now we don't even value our vote.
Right.
But in order to be a first class citizen, you had to vote. And so we've got to understand the value of our vote, the value of our voice.
Yes.
Because if we don't speak for us, who's going to speak for us?
Speak for us.
And so that's why I feel like, and then you mentioned something about people saying, well, I don't want to vote for anybody. It's interesting because I had that conversation with my 21-year-old son. We have all these talks because he's so lit up right now. As young people say, they're so lit. But he's angry, but he's also trying to take action. But he made a very interesting point to me the other day. He said, Mama, people ask why young people don't go to the polls and vote. He said, give us somebody worth voting for.
Wow.
And I had to tell him, I said, I completely understand that. However, you've got to make a choice.
Right.
And then I had one of my brothers to tell me, he said, this election is like trying to choose between two ugly girls. He said, I've got two ugly girls that want me. He said, I got it. He said, but now, I can't just look at them on the outer appearance and decide. He said, I got to think about their personality now.
See which one is uglier.
Right. Compare the two, which is uglier. Which one can give me some benefit.
Right.
And so, and unfortunately.
See which one do have a brain.
Right.
Yes.
And so, so I think about that, then yes, maybe we don't have the best candidates. Maybe we don't have the best names on that ballot.
Right.
But for right now, we've got to choose between two ugly girls.
That's right.
But after this, if you can't find a leader, you become the leader.
That's right.
And that's what we've got to understand. Maybe they are not the right ones. Maybe you are the right one.
Right.
And so we've got to take that sacrifice. We've got to evaluate ourselves and say, am I going to continue to sit down and complain? Or am I going to rise up to the occasion and I'm going to become the leader?
Make a difference. And you can become a leader, but they will look at this thing like, but for so long, there haven't been a president of color. We just only had one.
Right. But if he can do it.
If he can do it, you can do it.
If Donald Trump can do it,
anybody
can do
it. Okay. Excuse me, my audience. I love you dearly. And we're going to continue
the conversation. We're just keeping it 100.
He's going to put us on the news.
It's okay.
He's going to talk about us.
The truth is the light.
That's all right. But anyway. Okay, I had something on here too concerning voting too. Do you think that we need to be taught how to vote?
Yes, absolutely, yes. I feel like there needs to be a life skills course in high school.
Right, because I don't think it's enough education
Right,
on voting.
right,
If I didn't have my mom and dad when I turned 18 to explain to us and to show us how, me and my sisters and brothers, how important it were to vote and all that, I wouldn't have been an avid voter.
Right.
But I'm glad that they was educated on
Right.
it and they shared it with us. But some people don't have
That's
that
right.
in their
That's
household, and some parents don't know. So how are they going to teach their children? And like you said, it should be something
right,
that they're taught in school on how to vote, and when you go to the polls and what you're supposed to do, because with them changing the system so much,
right.
you know, you got to keep up with how the system going to go for you to get there when you get to the ballot.
That's
the ballot to vote when
That's
you're
right.
putting it in.
That's right. I do believe that, you know, they have civics courses in class, but I think that there needs to be an in-depth study on how to vote. Years ago, I served as the executive director for an organization called Kids Voting Macon. And I had the opportunity to go into the classrooms, and these were mostly elementary schools, where we were teaching young people how to vote.
Yeah.
And on election day, we would have a ballot station set up for children where they could cast their vote. And we would actually tally their votes. And ironically, the people that the children voted for matched pretty much who their parents voted for.
Okay.
And so I really believe that in order for us to understand fully
Yes.
what the importance of voting and what it is and what it takes to vote, we've got to educate our young people at a very young age.
Yes, we got to get them.
And parents can even do the role. Like I said, your parents did it. My dad did it.
Yeah.
Take your children to the polls. I mean, the best education is at home. I mean, you've got to go above and beyond to make sure that your children are getting what they need.
I was so excited when I went to vote for the first time.
Yes.
And my dad was standing there with me. I was like, I'm gonna get my name in there.
Right.
I'm putting the vote in.
Right.
And then when I pushed that button, I said, I walked out there. I did it, Daddy.
That's right.
He said, yes, you did, daughter. And then
That's
you're going
right.
to keep on. You're going to do this for the rest of your life.
That's right.
You will vote.
That's
I said,
right.
yes, sir, I will
That's
vote.
right.
And I've been voting ever since. And, you know, we need to tell people it is important.
It is so important.
Your vote will count.
It does.
You might have some people that is really not educated on telling, oh, my vote, no, your vote ain't gonna count.
It counts.
You see how it turned out
It
like this
counts.
and like that? No, go vote.
That's right.
Make sure we make some changes because too much is going on today.
That's right.
And we want changes.
That's right.
In order to make change, you got to be a part of the change.
That's right.
If you're not a part of the change, there won't be no changes, man. And then when it don't go the way that you think it should go and you didn't vote, come on, boo-boo. You
That's
shouldn't have
right.
said nothing.
That's right.
Because you should have put your vote in.
Right.
And we encouraging you on today to put forth your name. Put it in the ballot. Go punch it in. Go do what you got to do. If you are not in the United States or not in your area, you got to get absentee ballot.
That's
Do it. Put it in because it will make a difference.
It will.
You want a difference in your local state. You want a difference in this world. You want to know who's in the White House. You want to know, even, this is the point I want to raise too. I was talking about this today. It is very important that we know, even before a bill gets signed, it has to be in the House,
Right.
and then it has to be in the Senate.
That's right.
If there's more of one party in the Senate, you can have a full House, one party, a good amount of numbers, but the Senate makes the difference.
Right. Right.
So if one group is higher than the other one in the Senate, I had gotten a little frustrated. Let me fan a little bit. When I hear people say a lot that President Obama didn't change nothing. But when he was in the White House, he's a Democrat and there was Republicans.
Right.
And then the Republicans, it was more numbers with
Right.
them than it was with the Democrats. So who they was gonna vote against?
Right.
That Democrat.
That's right.
President.
That's right.
So right now we have more in the Senate that is Republican That's why everything that is everything, that is lolly-die, wally-lie, is getting signed and passed.
Right.
It doesn't matter whether people want it or whatever, it's getting passed because there's more people, they got more numbers. It's about the numbers. So if you want that to change, you got to change who you send as a Senate to represent you.
When you don't vote, your voice is not heard.
It's not heard.
Your vote is your voice.
Yes.
And if you want people to represent you who have your best interests at heart, you must vote.
You must.
There's no
vote.
other way around it. There's no
other way around it. You can sit down and talk about it. Y'all can have some tea parties, and you can have a big club night.
Right.
But if you don't vote, it's not going to mean anything. And if you have a big party that night trying to do a discussion, and then if a brawl break out, you call the police, it's going to be the same old thing. So if you want things to change, you got to be a part of the change.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Right?
Absolutely right.
You have anything else you would like to discuss?
Well, I want to just make sure that people understand the process. I think it's very important that they understand the process. Of course, in order to be able to vote, you have to be a U.S. citizen. You have to be at least 18 years of age on the date of the election, but you can actually register once you are 17 and a half years old. You cannot have any felony convictions unless your rights have been restored. You have to be mentally sound. That means that a judge cannot say or has not deemed that you are not mentally sound. And you just have to register to vote. Registration for voting happens, it typically ends 30 days prior to the next election. You can go online to register. You can simply go to the Secretary of State's website. You can go to your local Board of Elections website to register. You can go in person to the Board of Elections to register. So there are so many different ways you can do it. You can also do it at the public library. You can go to, when you go and get your driver's license, you can do it. So you just have to make sure that you get this done. As a matter of fact, one of the things on the ballot for this election that is coming up on Tuesday is the question, will they allow people, we're voting yes or no, whether or not we will allow people to register to vote the day of the election, to allow more people to have the opportunity to vote. So I thought that was interesting because if you can imagine, if people forget to register in advance on the day of the election, if they can register and still vote that same day, that will make a huge difference in our turnout. And so I think, so those of you who are listening who have not voted yet, when you go on Tuesday, there's a question. Should people be able to register to vote the day of an election? I am saying yes. Because I think that will have a major impact on the number of people who will come out to vote. The other thing that's on that ballot for this election is should convicted felons be able to vote? So those are questions because you got to think about, again, we've got a criminal justice system that has disparities against African Americans. There are more African Americans with felony convictions than anyone else. So that's an easy way to decrease the number of African Americans that are voting. But once they've served their time, if they can get that right back to be able to vote, just imagine what major impact that would make on our numbers and on how we can shape our communities. So that's one thing that we've got to think about. And that's another reason why it's so important to vote, because these are major decisions that are being made on a ballot. Where you're able to say, this is what I want, this is what I need for my community. And just simply by going in there to vote, you get an opportunity to make your voice heard with that. And so that is so important. Also, one thing that that people run into, you have to have an ID when you go in person. So make sure that you take your ID. It can be a passport. It can be your driver's license. It can be a state issued ID, but you have to have that ID. So make sure that you are making certain that that you have that. Okay. One other thing that has been really successful in Bibb County is the early voting. We had nearly 6,000 people to vote early in our early voting. So that ended on this past Friday. So if you know that or if you even fear, and I hate to use the word fear, that you can't make it the day of the election, go early or get an absentee ballot so that you can get your vote in. You want to make certain that your vote is being counted. And so on this Tuesday, June the 9th, you have an opportunity, if you've already registered to vote And if you have not voted in the early voting, then from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., get in that line at your precinct and get your vote in. If you're in the line prior to 7 p.m. and the line is wrapped around the corner, if you're in that line by 7 p.m., they must allow you to vote. So do not get out of line. If you're there at 7 p.m. and people tell you, oh, we can't vote, that is not true. If you're in that line by 7 p.m., you still have the right to vote. If anyone tells you differently, then you stay in that line and you call your Board of Elections and you let them know that you are being deprived of your right to vote, because that is a criminal offense, and you have the right to stand in that line. Even if it's 3 hours after 7 p.m., you stand in that line until you get your vote in.
Right.
So nobody can make you move until you've got an opportunity to vote. If you're not sure where to go to vote, elections, there is a page called My Voter Page. The website is www.mvp.sos.ga.gov. Again, that's www.mvp.sos.ga.gov. You type in your name, your date of birth, and it will then pull up your precinct where you should go to vote. It will tell you every district that you're in. It'll tell you what school district zone you're in, what if you're in Macon Water Authority district you're in. All of those districts are spelled out right there on that website for you if you have already registered. If you've moved to a different location within 30 days of the election, you can still go back to your previous precinct and vote there. Okay, so if you moved, if you relocated to a different city or you relocated to a different county, you can go back to even if you move within the same county, but you're not in the same precinct zone, excuse me, then you can go back to your previous precinct to vote. So do not feel that because you moved and you did not update your address or whatever, do not feel that you do not have the right to vote. You still are a registered voter and you can still go back to that previous precinct. So please make sure that you take advantage of your right. This is listen to this, a first-class citizen right. Make sure that you get your vote in.
Get your vote in. Someone had placed on here, I think it's Sharita Crawford. She stated that 500,000 people didn't vote in 2016. Black voters.
Yeah. That's outrageous.
5 election, 5 categories. Ain't that something?
Yeah, that's amazing. And so again, if we're not participating in the change, we can't complain.
We can't complain.
You have to participate. You have to be active. You have to make your voice heard. I mean, if nothing else, for me, the imagery of seeing black people hanging from a rope because they wanted to vote. The imagery of seeing black people being kicked and spit on and beat down and having dogs sit on them because they wanted to exercise their citizen right to vote is enough to move me, to make me say, if they had to go through that for me to have the opportunity to vote, then by all means, I'm going to exercise my right to vote.
She said 1,500,000.
I believe it.
And 17,000.
I believe it. And it's because people believe that they have voter apathy, that they feel like their vote is not going to count, or that nobody's on the ballot that I like. Well, you can't complain when things don't change. And again, if there's nobody on the ballot that you don't like, put yourself on the ballot. You like you, right?
Right.
Or get behind somebody that you can support, somebody that you do know will do a great job for your community, and get behind them and push.
Ask a family member or ask a friend or somebody, say, when the two is there, you say, well, which one should I vote for? Tell me some characteristics about it. Tell me, then you weigh it that way, but just do not vote.
That's right. And that's one of the things that I value. I've had several people to call me and ask me, Arizona, who should I vote for? And, and I believe in studying the character of people. I've had to really pray with this election because I thought my mind was made up months ago, and it changed.
Right.
So, you really do have to see seek God for these answers, and you have to study the character of people.
Look at
Their character,
integrity,
and their integrity,
yes,
and look at their past performance. What have they
Right.
done to benefit the community up to this point?
Yes.
And what have they done to make me feel like I can trust them with my vote? Because if you value your vote, then you won't just vote for anybody.
That's right.
You'll make sure that you are doing your homework to make sure that you're selecting the right person.
Right, because far too long, maybe some of the people have went to the polls and just voted anybody.
Right.
And that's why we're in the position that we are in today.
Right.
But we want change.
That's right.
We want to see some changes.
That's right.
I don't want to be afraid when my sons leave and go out of the
Neither
house
do I.
anymore and worried about what's going to happen to them. They
Neither
call
do
me on the
I.
phone, Mom, a cop done pulled me over. Then I have to jump in my little Mercedes and try to catch them
Right.
and find them.
Right.
And by the time I get there, they done threw them in a paddy wagon or something like that. I don't want that to happen
Nope.
because we live in America, and America should be better than that.
Right. Right.
There are people come to America seeking a good life, and they get here, they can have that good life. They come from other countries.
Right.
But we living here, we can't have that good life because we are not voting.
Right.
So let's vote to make changes. If you want change, be a part of the change. Don't be
That's it.
afraid of the change.
You can't.
Just do it because it's for our benefit. It's for our children. It's for our children's children. It's for our children's children. However long the world go on, we are making change
That's right.
for life for somebody that's coming after us.
That's right.
After us. And
That's
we
right.
say, well, we haven't seen no change all these years because you haven't voted.
Right.
Or you haven't seen change because you haven't voiced it. You know, we see these young people out there now. They are trying to get changes.
They are.
Because even in the process of their changes, the things are still happening. And I look at the TV like, am I really seeing this for real?
Yeah.
Am I really seeing this on my Facebook feed
Right.
that they're still doing the same thing?
Right.
What's wrong with them? It ain't us. There's something wrong with them.
Right.
What are their mentality? What are they thinking?
Right. And
you know?
we've got to use the power of that pen.
Yes.
We've got to. We can no longer sit back and just expecting to change. You've got to call your legislators.
Yes.
You've got to sit down and come up with proposals of what can
Yes.
happen, because maybe they're waiting for you. Maybe this is the season that you're supposed to rise up and say,
Yes.
these are the things we want done.
Right.
And I just really believe that if we were to sit down and just lay it out and say, this is what needs to change.
Yes.
This is what needs to change. And we
Right.
present that to our politicians, to our legislators, and let them know, we're not going to elect you again until this happens.
Until this happens.
Because as a constituent, they go in to serve the community, and they go in to be our voice.
Right.
So if you can't speak on our behalf, if you can't cause things to change that are impacting my community, then we don't need you here anymore.
That's right.
And we vote them out of office. And that's
Right.
what we've got to use, that power. We've got the power to do it. And I keep harping on this economic power as well.
Yes.
You hit people where it's hurt. Nothing changes until there's pain.
Right.
So even in that, I'm going to vote to put the people in position that I know will have my best interest, but I'm going to spend my money
Yes.
where I know it's going to have the biggest impact for my community.
Yes.
I want to see a return on investment in my community.
Right.
I want to see my community being built up. I want to see businesses and jobs coming to my neighborhood,
Right.
not just to North Macon.
That's
and
right.
until you can give us what we want, then you won't be in position. That's what we have to understand, especially in a city like Macon that has majority African Americans. If we were to use the power of our vote,
Yeah.
we would see things change.
We would see some
We would see
changes.
things change.
We will see some changes. Well, I hope you all enjoyed our talk today. Somebody said I will be voting for you.
Oh God! I had 4 people call me yesterday and say, "When are you running for mayor?" And I'm just like,
Yes.
listen.
It's
Like-
time for our voice to be heard
Yeah.
and people to get in place that know what they're doing
Yeah.
to make changes in our community and to put our money in our own community. And it's time out for people of another nationality to come in our community and put up a business and make money off of our
But
people.
we control that. We have the
can
power to control that.
Yes.
If we, and I say this all the time, if we have the discipline, we already have the power. We just
Yes.
need the discipline
The
to do
discipline.
it. If we can learn that I'm going to support people that's going to put money back in my community,
Right.
then that's when we'll see change. But
Right.
because we want a quick fix and we want to see, okay, I'm just going to go to the quickest store. No, go to someone that's going to invest back in your community. And then you'll see, then once we show them that we are spending money with people that look like me, people that support the causes that are important to me, and the people that going to do what's going to build up my community, then they will realize they have no room. They will not be profitable in our neighborhoods. But we are the ones that make them profitable.
That's right. And because when they have a business, they put their money into a person of their race business.
They're investing
They're
in
not
themselves.
going to put it into your business.
They're investing in
themselves. So we got to learn how to put our money back into our black friends and family or community. Put it back in there. And that's what we're going to start doing. Change is going to be made. But I am so glad that you all are tuned in today. We got something else we want to share with you.
I want to share this because I wrote this several years ago. I was speaking somewhere, and I wrote this, but it brought this back to my remembrance about the lifespan of $1. The lifespan of $1 in the Asian community is 28 days. That means that $1 circulates in the Asian community for 28 days. In the Jewish community, the lifespan of $1 is 19 days. And the lifespan of $1 in the African American community is approximately 6 hours. Do you hear that? $1. Once we get $1, it stays in our community approximately 6 hours. Other communities, it stays in their community for days. Why? Because they are buying in their communities. They're investing in people who have businesses in their communities. We get money and we go outside of our communities and give it to those other people. And I'm not racist or anything. I love God and I love all of God's people. But this is fact. If we put money and if we invested in our very own communities, our communities would look so much different.
Yes, it would.
Our communities would be the most vibrant. They would be the most successful. They would be the most live in if we put our money in our own communities. But we have the power because if you look at every piece of data that talks about consumerism in America, it shows you that the African Americans are the ones that are making businesses successful because we are the ones spending our money instead of saving and investing our money. But if we invest and save our money and put it in our own communities, then we will see that African Americans will be the number one people. And if you look at things like Black Wall Street, or you look at Auburn Avenue in Atlanta,
I was reading about that.
That was our blueprint. Auburn Street in Atlanta, everything on that street was Black owned. And they were the most wealthy people in that city. We saw the blueprint and then we threw it away. And now we're wondering why people mistreat us. Because again, if we don't value us, then they don't value us.
So we got to start going out and eating at the places. Since everything is open, y'all know y'all going out to eat. So since everything is open, we need to start going to the Black-owned restaurants.
The Black-owned
businesses. You know, me and the husband was going somewhere the other day, and I said, I think I want such and such to eat. Then I thought about it. I said, no, I'm going back over here. Take me over there. And I ate there like 3 days.
We have to be intentional. And I do, and I think about it. You have to be intentional with it because, of course, other things may be more convenient, but if you are intentional, if you make up in your mind, if I'm going to eat out 3 days a week, then I'm going to strategically go to a place that I know is Black owned, where I know that they're investing money back in my community. And not only that, but you got to think about it versus me going to a small mom and pop store where I know that money is going to help them with their light bill. That money is going to help them put their child through school. It's going to help them put tithe back into their church versus going to Walmart where we're investing in their new jet skis and investing in their vacation properties. Put it back where you know it's going to be used by somebody that needs it. Where we can see that Black-owned business, they put their child through school based off of the money that we put into their business. It makes more sense to me.
It makes sense altogether because if we have that much money to put into other business, like you said, Walmart, you know, in different places, and I'm not going to repeat what I said, what I saw on there, but about Walmart. But anyway, we got money to do that. Why not put it into our own people that we know is working hard, that we know is building something for their families, and then that it turn around, it could come back to us when we
Right.
start our businesses.
That's right.
You never know. We got to do that. We got to think like that. Intentionally, because I know they must have thought like that. And we put this out here and we invest in each other, we're going to have all of this. But it's time for us, as a generation of people, to cause change in our own neighborhood.
Right. Be intentional and have discipline.
Yes, and discipline.
Yep.
Discipline is golden.
Yes.
That's what you got to have.
Yes.
It's kind of hard for us even as black people to have discipline.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to learn to have discipline.
And that's what separates the
so
haves
great.
from the have-nots is
Right.
discipline.
Discipline.
You can have the same amount of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
You can have the same skill set. You can have the same talent. But it's that discipline that's going to set you apart.
Make the difference.
That's what makes the difference.
And when you learn that discipline, you will see things changing all around you.
That's it.
We are getting ready to make change.
That's right.
In our community.
It's time.
We are smarter than they thought we were.
That's right.
We are smarter. We are broader, and we're going to cause things to happen.
That's right.
It's getting ready to happen.
It's going to happen.
I thank you so much for tuning in today to the Tammy Talk Show. I hope something was done and said today to enrich your knowledge on the political scene, so you'll know that your voice is being heard when you go out and vote. If you have any questions that you would like to ask us or ask Miss White, all you got to do is contact me through Facebook, and we'll get you the answers that you need, the places you need to go, the information that you need. We'll even tell you the restaurants you need to go eat at, or the places you need to go buy your hair at, anything, get your nails done. We will share it with you and let you know, put your money back into our business, our own, black-owned businesses. Yeah. We love you much, and we thank you. Mm-hmm. I think he said, have a question? There was a question on here?
It got answered.
It got answered.
Okay.
Okay. So if you have any questions anymore, just inbox me and we will get you the answers that you need. If there's anything that higher up on the political status, you need some answers, we're going to help you with that. But I implore you and I ask you to please go out and vote. And this November.
Yes.
This November
3rd.
Please
set your alarm.
Go out and vote.
Yes.
If you don't have an alarm clock, I will call you.
Yes.
I will call you and say, wake up, it's time to vote.
It's time.
We got to vote. If we want changes, get out there and do it and make it happen. Thank you for joining us. We will be back with you on Thursday. I will have a special guest all the way from Detroit. He's going to come in and talk to us concerning how God blessed him to get his son back and the challenge that he went through and the things that he had to do to get his son. There may be fathers out there. You want to visit your child. You don't get a chance to see him and spend time with your children. We're going to give you an avenue and things that you could do and share his story, so he'll let you know what you got to do in order to get that time with your children. We thank you for listening. From my heart to your heart. Love you.